In southern North America, Mexico is a federal state known as the United Mexican States. Its area is around 770,000 square miles, making it the 12th largest country in the world. In terms of population size, Mexico ranks 11th in the world with over 120 million people. Besides Mexico City, which serves as the capital, the federation consists of 31 states. Considering the country's economy, it ranks 15th in the world with a nominal gross domestic product, GDP, of $1.199 trillion. It is projected that by 2050, the nation will become the world's fifth largest economy. An extensive range of industries supports this robust economy, including a large amount of natural resources. Minerals such as gold, copper, petroleum, silver, and others make up Mexico's primary natural resources. Other resources include timber from vast woods and agricultural land. The country is brimming with wealth and opportunities. In spite of this, its riches isn't something that was just discovered. Throughout history, these lands have played an integral role in the economic and cultural life of the region and the world as a whole. Before we continue, please subscribe to this channel so that we can continue to create more content about the beauty of Latin America. The German polymath Friedrich Wilhelm Heinrich Alexander von Humboldt was a naturalist, explorer, geographer, and advocate for Romantic philosophy and science. He was Wilhelm von Humboldt's younger brother, a Prussian minister, linguist, and philosopher. The science of biogeography was established by Humboldt's quantitative study of plant geography. The foundation for current geomagnetic and meteorological monitoring was laid by Humboldt's support for long-term systematic geophysical measurements. Between 1799 and 1804, Humboldt traveled extensively in the Americas, investigating and describing them for the first time from a Western scientific perspective. Over the course of 21 years, his account of the expedition was written up and published in many books. Humboldt was one of the first to suggest that the regions surrounding the Atlantic Ocean were once a singular landmass, South America and Africa in particular. The natural resources and commercial prospects of Mexico lead Alexander von Humboldt to call it the storehouse of the world during his expeditions. Humboldt's journey to Mexico, 1803 to 1804, took place during a time when it was considered one of the wealthiest countries on Earth. It had the 10th largest economy in the world, 2 spots behind the United States, and earned 40% of the income of the Spanish Empire. Authorized by King Charles IV of Spain, Humboldt, together with a French botanist and physician M. Bonpland, went on a research expedition to Spain's realms in the Americas. After spending years traversing Venezuela, Cuba, and the Andes, the two researchers headed toward the Viceroyalty of New Spain. As it turns out, this wasn't the original plan. They had hoped to join a voyage to the Pacific, but were unable to do so. As Humboldt and Bonpland set off for Acapulco, New Spain's capital on Mexico's central plateau, Humboldt realized the ship's captain had miscalculated Acapulco's location. As the main port on the west coast of the Spanish Philippines and a major Asian trade route, accurate maps of its location were essential. In order to determine Acapulco's longitude, Humboldt set up his instruments and surveyed the Deepwater Bay. On February 15, 1803, Humboldt and Bonpland arrived in Acapulco and proceeded to Tasco, a silver mining town in modern Guerrero. It was in April 1803 that he visited Cuernavaca, Morelos. Having been impressed with the city's climate, he named it the City of Eternal Spring. The king's representative in New Spain, Viceroy Don José de Iturriguere, officially welcomed Humboldt and Bonpland upon their arrival in Mexico City. Humboldt was also given a special passport that allowed him to travel throughout New Spain, as well as letters of introduction to intendants, the highest officials in each of New Spain's administrative districts, intendancies. This official assistance to Humboldt gave him access to crown records, mines, landed estates, canals, and pre-Hispanic Mexican antiquities. He read the writings of Manuel Abad y Quipo, Bishop-elect of Michoacán and classical liberal, which were addressed to the crown in order to improve New Spain. They spent a year in the Viceroyalty, traveling to various cities in Mexico's Central Plateau and northern mining region. The first journey was from Acapulco to Mexico City via what is now Guerrero, Mexico. A mule train could only use the route, and Humboldt took elevation measurements along the way. In 1804, shortly after leaving Mexico, he took a similar set of measures, which resulted in a chart in the political essay, showing the risks of a route from Acapulco to Mexico City and from Mexico City to Veracruz. The visual representation of altitude was part of Humboldt's general focus on presenting data in a more understandable way than statistical charts. It was the realization that anything related to size or quantity can be represented geometrically that enabled him to gain a broader readership for his work. Statistical projections, charts and graphs that appeal to the senses over the intellect served to highlight a large number of critical details. Humboldt worked at the Valenciana silver mine in Guanajuato, central New Spain, which was the most important in the Spanish Empire at the time. Several aspects of his influence on Guanajuato were highlighted at the University of Guanajuato during a conference commemorating his bicentennial visit. Rather than just studying the geology of the fantastically rich mine, Humboldt studied the entire complex as well as the mining statistics of its output. In his political essay, he made a significant contribution to silver mining, and it is considered one of the strongest and most well-informed sections. Although Humboldt was a geologist and mining inspector by training, he consulted Mexico's mining experts. One was Fausto El Huyer, the then head of Mexico City's General Mining Court, who, like Humboldt, was educated in Freiburg. Another was Andrés Manuel del Ro, the director of the Royal College of Mines, whom Humboldt knew as a student in Freiburg. Silver revenues were the crown's primary source of income, so the Bourbon monarchs established the mining court and college to elevate mining as a profession. Furthermore, Humboldt consulted other German mining experts in Mexico. Although Humboldt was a welcomed foreign scientist, the Spanish crown laid the foundations for his mining investigations. Humboldt was fascinated by the ancient civilizations of Spanish America. He depicted images of Mexican writings, or codices. A richly illustrated view of the Inca ruins is featured in Humboldt's most experimental publication, Views de Cordilleras y de Monuments de Pueblos Indígenas de El Amérique, 1810–1813, primarily due to its lack of a single ordering principle and his observations and opinions. As Humboldt pondered these ancient civilizations, he considered how climate impacted their development. Among the drawings he included in his Views de Cordilleras were a color picture of the Aztec calendar stone found buried in Mexico City's Central Plaza in 1790, as well as drawings from the Dresden Codex and others found in European collections. It was his goal to gather evidence that could be used to reconstruct pre-Hispanic history using these pictographic and sculptural images. He sought the interpretation of sources from Mexico, particularly Antonio Pichardo, the literary custodian of Antonio de Leon y Gama's work. Humboldt's acknowledgement and dissemination of these ancient works benefited American-born Spaniards, Creoles, seeking pride in Mexican history. Having read the works of exiled Jesuit Francisco Javier Clavijo that praised Mexico's pre-Hispanic civilization, Humboldt was able to counter Buffon, De Pau, and Reynolds' dismissive views of the New World. As a result of his research, Humboldt came to see the prehistoric worlds of Mexico and Peru as despotic and barbaric. However, he did highlight indigenous monuments and artifacts as having both historical and artistic significance. After traveling and conducting research in Spanish America, 1811, he published Essai politique sur le royaume de la Nouvelle Espagne, quickly translated into English as Political Essay on the Kingdom of New Spain. Although Mexico isn't as wealthy as it was during the past centuries, its future seems bright. If the right people take the lead in the nation might again become the storehouse of the world, given its vast resources and an ever-growing pool of young people. To learn more about Mexico, click the video on the left and subscribe to our channel to help us become a leading channel on everything about Latin America.